Two, let's go.
All right, cool.
How you doing, Mr. Eze? Eze or Eze?
Just it's pronounced Eze, but I go by Eza just because it's easier for people.
Okay, cool, cool, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, like, we can start off this discussion. You could tell me a little bit about yourself, what it is you do, and your YouTube channel and Instagram.
Yeah. So yeah, this is my first like interview type. So, but yeah, I make Christian content. Uh so I've been doing it I guess for a couple months now, but um, I don't make Muslim videos. They do really well for some reason. Like if I talk about Muslims, I think that's how you saw me. But yeah, I make Christian content. Like my Instagram, I do like Bible trivia where I ask people biblical trivia. Sometimes I just do like commentary on like contemporary events on YouTube and stuff. So yeah, I just do stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, I saw like some of your other videos as well where you'd ask like what's the first chapter of the Bible? It's Genesis, last chapter is
Uh,
Revelation, all those kind of stuff. So that was pretty interesting as well. But
yeah.
what really caught my attention was when you said some stuff about Islam, and could you go into that and what was it you got from it, or what is it, you know, how do you see this ideology, especially in the 21st century?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So before I became Christian and even like the early point when I was a baby Christian or whatever, like I always was under this impression like, oh, Islam is like we're like this, like you know what I'm saying? I said in my video, like I thought like, oh, Islam and Christianity, like we're like brothers, like I thought it was like the same thing. But then something in me one time was like, why are there two different religions? Like is there Islam if we're like bros, you
It's
know? So
so like similar
I
all the
looked it up.
time.
Yeah, exactly. So I looked up like what are the differences? And there is this one website I've been trying to find it. I haven't been able to find it, but it's the differences between Islam and Christianity. And I was like, I started reading it. I'm like, dang, like Islam's kind of messed up. But like it started making me like I was low-key kind of scared. I'm like, bro, I don't want to become Islamophobic now, like, because it's hard to deny. Like once I see the truth, like I'm someone where like I have to start saying it. It's just like it's weird. So I'm like, bro, if I keep looking at this, I know I'm gonna start being like too outspoken about it. But nah, I just started looking at the differences, and it was just like it just made me really just. I was just shocked, and I was like, man, I gotta like say something. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Typically, I say stuff in private, my family or just like people close to me. But since I started doing this YouTube thing, I was like, yeah, I might as well make a video about it too. You know?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you like some kind of, let's say, similarities, for example. So it's just a kind of hypothetical thing. So it's like, for example, if someone looks at Sikhi, right, or what they call Sikhism, and then they might find some things which
Yeah,
they find to be dodgy or tricky or problematic. If someone looks at what we call Christianity today and someone finds some things problematic, Hinduism, Buddhist, you name it, would those people be classified as Sikhophobic, Christophobic, Hinduphobic? If they were to critique the religion, would they be classified as that?
no, no, pretty much no. And that's honestly like a common thing, even with like Christianity. Like you could do that and it's
You
normal.
can
It's
critique, right?
normalized, you know.
Yeah, so I think the problem that we're having here, because I'm here in the UK, I'm here in England, and it's not just in the UK, but it's many European countries like Northern Europe, Southern Europe, and parts of Western Europe. Right now, Islam is under big scrutiny. Right now, it's probably the most this religion has been under scrutiny. And anyhow, anyone like examines the religion or looks at certain things, the label is put out there Islamophobic. Now,
Yeah.
unbeknown to you, there is actually a lot of people from the Middle East who critique this religion. I'll name a few countries.
Mm,
Pakistan, Iran, even a few Afghans are leaving Islam, believe it or not. Um, even people from Saudi Arabia. There was a guy who actually left
okay.
Islam at the Kaaba in Mecca.
Oh,
Yeah, and he's
oh
become
wow.
Christian. He's become a Christian now. There's a video with him and David Wood. So it's very interesting because people who's grown up in this environment are starting to critique it, and many are leaving it. So now they can't be called Islamophobe because this is all they knew.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, like I just wanted to go into some of the things you were talking about. So, when you did your research on Islam, what was some of the scary things that you found, or some of the problematic things that you had found within Islam?
Let me think. I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff. I said this in my first video on Islam. Like a common Christianity, people will say, "Oh, Christianity, uh, it's homophobic, it's misogynistic." They say the Bible, the Bible says you can, there's actual explanations. Like those claims are literally true for Islam. Like literally, it says you can beat your wife if she doesn't listen.
If she disobeyed
It
you,
says like I remember, yeah, literally, and it says like in the court of law, like you need two women because that's like it'll equal like one man. Like if she's gonna be a
to get
witness,
her
if you're gonna be a witness, you
testimony
need like
after
two
that.
women because
Okay.
yeah, you know.
Now, just bearing in mind, and just for the video and camera, I'm not saying that I agree with every single one of your critiques, but um, like I can agree as well. There is some stuff that I've seen which is quite worrying. Is
Yeah,
there
yeah.
other really worrying things that you've seen?
So let me think off the top of my head. I mean, obviously he married a 6 year old. I mean, there's a bunch. Like I'm trying to think of stuff that I didn't
Wait, sorry,
say
what was that? You said he
in my
what?
video. He married a 6 year old. Like, yeah, we know this. We
Whoa.
know he married Aisha
And when did he consummate this?
when she was 9.
Yeah. So what's your take on that? Because I know that if I have a daughter, she's not getting with no man until the youngest she's 18 or 20. But
No,
what's your
exactly.
take on that?
Yeah, I think that was one thing where when I found out about that, I'm like, bro, like there's no way people are still Muslim. Like I was thinking like if you're Muslim at this point, you just don't know. And then but then I would see people who were Muslim who did know, who just defend it still. Like, and it's just I don't know. I don't know, bro. I don't know. It's just to me, it's obviously wrong. And I said it in my video where like the Quran claims that Muhammad is like a very moral individual.
Yeah, the
So
best example of all time.
yeah, so it's like if he's a good example of morality and he's marrying children, like that'll reflect onto actual like Muslim people who follow that, and we see it literally now. Like there's literally people who do child marriage in those like in predominantly Muslim countries. So
Yeah, especially the
yeah, I
Muslim
don't.
Middle East. Especially the Muslim Middle East.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just it's a lot of weird stuff.
Well, yeah,
With Islam.
like the thing is that yes, what you're saying about the child marriage that is in what we call the hadiths. These are
Mhm.
Sunni hadiths. So the Shias, they believe some things a little bit different, but this is predominantly what we would class as Sunni Islam. And the other issue is that actually, if you read the Quran, there's a part in the Quran where you can actually marry, it's not marry, so you can divorce those who has not yet menstruated.
I didn't hear that. That's actually insane.
Yeah. You see,
That's ins-
so this was why when we had our little talk or chat for maybe 10 minutes or 5 minutes,
yeah,
what you need to do is you need to be able to get the sources so that you can have proof. Because someone could just say, look, well, this man, he's full of hate, right? So you need
yeah.
to have the sources. So the two main sources that I would say that you need more so is the Quran and Hadith. These are the
Yeah.
two primary sources when dealing with Sunni Islam. And the thing is like there's a guy you can check him out. I think you might know of him. He's called Muhammad Hijab. So
Oh
I
yeah,
think
I've heard of him. Yeah.
yeah, you might have spoke of Ali Dawah. Ali Dawah is normally his right hand man. But Muhammad Hijab is like the big guy. You know, he's tall and big as well. And he actually said to a multitude of people in the park that it's actually not it's actually halal to marry a girl of 5 years old. And that's very problematic. Because the thing is, it's like, many people bring an example and say, oh, look, in some isolated place in England, 150 years ago, you could marry a 7 or 9 year old because there was someone in
Hmm.
power for 4 years who allowed this to happen. In some, maybe 3 or 4 states in the US, you can marry 13 and 14. Somewhere else in maybe the Persian or Roman Empire, you could marry at 12. My argument is just because some people have allowed it doesn't make it right. It's not morally right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
a 9 year old, to me, that would be a rape. I'm
Yeah.
and I've actually asked some Muslims, and they said they would never let anyone come close to their daughter, even if their daughter's 12 or 14. So even many Muslims
Yeah.
actually don't agree with certain parts of Islam, right?
Mm.
Um, the other thing is because I wanted to touch on one topic. Do you know about slavery in Islam?
I know a bit. I know that it was like Muhammad himself, he owned slaves and it was never explicitly condemned in the Quran. So, but I'd love to learn more.
Yeah, yeah. So like basically if you look within the hadiths, in I believe it's in Sahih al-Bukhari and in some other hadiths, right? But like there's this main one which a lot of people know of, even a lot of Muslims from the Middle East know of this, where he traded two black slaves to redeem an Arab,
Mm.
right? So I'm saying like there wasn't freeing of slaves. He was right in the midst of it. And,
Yeah.
he's doing bog off deals on the blacks, buy one, get one free. And no, it's true, he's doing bog off deals, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is that many want to come with this story about Bilal, who was the famous black slave.
Mm.
Now, do you know anything about this Bilal character?
I've heard that he owned black slaves, and because I've seen criticisms where people are like they talk about the Nation of Islam, and it's like, how could you support this when he literally owned black slaves? So I've heard of his name, but I don't know his
Yeah.
story too. But
So Bilal is the famous black character who Muhammad supposedly freed, and he was the first
mm,
man to call the Adhan. You know when they're like Allah Akbar, yeah, all of that stuff. Now, for me, this story doesn't really fit very well. Number one, I'm gonna have to confirm it later, but many people have said that he was still a slave, Bilal.
mm,
He was still a slave, number one.
mm,
Number two, it gets even more problematic because his father was an Arab.
mm,
Now, everyone who understands Abrahamic faiths understands that you are the seed of your father. So therefore, the story of Bilal doesn't count. They
yeah.
focus on the skin color because his mother was from Ethiopia or Somalia or Sudan. Because a lot of these people, they're always so focused on color. But if his father was an Arab, he belongs to the Arab people, which that to me is the same people as Muhammad's people, so that can't count. Um, the other thing is like you just can't get around it where you look in the hadiths and there was always trading of slaves. Not like there's countless stories of like someone gifted a slave to someone's daughter. Um,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
there's another part where it says, "Do not don't beat your wife as hard as you beat a slave, and then go
Mm,
back and have sex with her in the last part of the day." So it's clearly showing that slaves were beaten. They try and tell you slaves were treated well, they were treated nice. And you just look at the historical timeline, like of when Islam first begun, like they've had one of the biggest slave trades in human history, where
Mm.
had a 1400-year slave trade uninterrupted.
Mm.
Did you know that?
No, I mean, you told me the other day, but I didn't know that until you said that.
Yeah. Like right now, you can go and buy a black slave in Chad, Sudan, Libya, Mauritania. You can buy black slaves there,
Mm.
especially Libya, openly selling black slaves in the markets.
That's insane, though. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane.
So for me, it's like this is why some of those things became problematic because, when you look at the hadiths and things like that, where it's clear slave trading. And the interesting thing is that they didn't take only black slaves, they also took a lot of white slaves.
Mm.
But they went as far as Iceland. So if
Mm.
you go as far as Iceland to take slaves, you know how cold it is in some of those places. So they just were so determined to do slavery. And there was a guy I had a discussion with, and the guy says that there's no need for them to stop the slave trade because it is Islamic,
Mm.
right? So they're enslaving even black Muslims. They're enslaving black Christians, black atheists, black people who, follow some ancient type of traditional system or whatever in Africa. But this thing is rampant. And it's not just that type of slavery, they also do sex slavery,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? And this thing is a common thing. Even when you look at some of these groups like ISIS and all that, they practice it. Some people say they're not Muslims, but sex slavery is in the Hadith,
Yeah.
where they were deciding on the best way to rape the woman, whether they should ejaculate in them or not. So,
Nah, it's
yeah, it's problematic.
not. It's interesting because, like, yeah, what you just said there, like a lot of Muslims, like, and I said it in my video, like a lot they don't bless you. A lot of Muslims they don't do this stuff, obviously, and thankfully they don't behave in this stuff. But it's like when you look at these like, extremist groups or whatever, it's like they're not just making it up. Like this is from their sources, this is from their
It's in
documents. So
Islamic literature.
yeah, so it's like they're getting it from somewhere. So you
Yeah.
know, it's something that we have to acknowledge. You know.
Yeah, because I think what part of the problem is that with a lot of blacks, they were angry towards the white man. So when I say blacks, we're talking about what they were called a Negro, Black
Yeah.
American, West Indian blacks. They were angry at the white man for the slavery of around 400 years. Then they said, okay, well, I'm going to become Muslim. And I would say that a lot of them need to do some real research because it
Yeah.
seems like they may have been duped. They may
Yeah.
have been tricked because I'm saying that if you're angry at the white man, but you've got another group of people who still practice slavery to this day,
Sure. Hey.
and
Uh,
practice it not for 400 years, but for 1400
mm,
years, that to me seems like that's probably worse. I don't know.
yeah.
You know, I could be wrong. I don't know, but it seems like it could be worse. And the reality is that the only place you can really predominantly go and openly buy a black slave is in the Muslim world. You can't buy a black slave in Europe.
Yeah.
You can't buy a black slave in North America, right? I came back from South America the other day. You can't buy a black slave there either.
Okay.
You know? So, what's your whole take from this? Do you want to try and like help some people to understand like the truth of it? And, of course, you being a Christian, then let them see like the contrast of the two religions, or what is it you wish to do?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, my goal is just, yeah, just to tell the truth and just to expose the deception because there's a lot of people, they have good intentions. I feel like a lot of people, I feel like some people, there's people out there who want to know the truth, but they just haven't heard it. And so all they heard is like, maybe Islam, like maybe like the typical like Nation of Islam. Like there's probably some Black Americans who were raised Muslim, but they literally don't know anything about it. And so by me making this video, now they're having like a better understanding, like, oh, this is what I follow. And so yeah, I make all types of videos, not just Islam. Hopefully I don't get pigeonholed into just Islam content because I know for some reason they always do well. But yeah, my goal is just to tell the truth. Whatever God like leads me to just say, that's what I do. And just lead people to Christ, you know. So
Okay, okay, that sounds good. Um, there was a point I was going to make.
are you Christian, by the way?
I'm non-religious.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm non-religious. There was a point I was going to make. I'm trying to remember the point, but I cannot remember the point I was going to make. I think it's this hay fever because it's, my head and my nose is going crazy. But yeah,
Hey,
like you've got some really good content. I'm going to tag you in the video and stuff. Um, you know, and I hope some of this message comes out. Yeah, I was going to say like, so if you look at like some countries in the world where, because you mentioned the thing about what was it like some people may not know this information or they want to know and things like that. So
yeah.
when you look at somewhere like Iran, a lot of people are becoming either atheist or a lot of people are becoming Christian in
Yeah.
Iran. Um, from some research I did, it's around either 60 or 70% of people in Iran do not identify as Muslim.
Hmm.
But on the regular census, it might say 99.5% Muslim.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not every, but almost every Iranian that I've ever met does not identify as a Muslim.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the reality. And just to let you know, because, especially you being a Christian, um, they were arresting people in Iran who were becoming Christian
Mm.
and they were sentencing them to death.
Apostates, apostasy type stuff.
Yeah, they were sentencing them to death. They put them in prison. It's like you're going to get
Yeah.
the death sentence. You know, like how it is in like the US, where someone gets sentenced to death in the prison.
Yeah.
So they'd have to do some time in prison, and then I think like in Iran, I think it was death normally by hanging.
Mm.
So, like for me, this is like a very problematic thing. And for me, I come more so from a kind of human rights point of view. And I just think that this religion is quite problematic. Now, some people say, okay, these hadiths are not correct. They're fabricated. They're this, they're that. But even to those who say that the hadiths are fabricated, even when they're the most reliable hadiths out there, like I tell them, I'm like, hey, like, do you think the Muslims are just going to give this up? They're not going to give up the slavery, the sex slavery, the apostasy laws. There's about 13 countries in the world that are Muslim
Mm.
that do the apostasy, that have their apostasy laws.
Yeah.
I think like the internet is something where it has helped people to share a lot of information. People are getting more clued up. They're starting to know and understand what is going on. And there's a place in London that is called Speaker's Corner.
Yeah. I've heard of it.
Oh, you've heard? There's
Yeah.
a guy you should check out, a guy called Bob, Bob of Speaker's Corner.
I think I know.
Like,
I've definitely. I know. I reckon there's a couple people from Speakers Corner. I know there's like the young kid with like slightly longer hair, and I think I've seen Bob. He's like an older man, right?
yeah, Bob is like must be in his mid-30s.
Yeah, I've definitely seen him.
Yeah, there is actually like reverse traffic because normally you hear a lot of people who are Christian becoming Muslim, but you're seeing a lot of reverse traffic now where a lot of people who are Muslim becoming Christian. And you're seeing people from like, like serious countries within the Middle East becoming Muslim. You're seeing people from Pakistan. There's people from Iran. I heard there was someone from Palestine. I was like,
Mm.
what? Palestine? Because the problems that's going on there now, I'm like, how is there someone from Palestine becoming a Christian? You know, people from there was a guy with David Wood the other day, the guy who I told you who left his religion at the Kaaba.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and he's become a Christian. So this thing is very interesting, and like, I want to like express that it's not about hate to any group
oh,
of,
yeah,
but it's about the truth and the facts. Because someone could dislike a religion, someone could even hate a religion. It doesn't mean that you hate the people. And a lot of
exactly.
people need to stop being emotional and trying to say that they hate this, they hate. No, they might dislike the religion, but the people, as long as the people are okay with them, why should someone have any problem with them?
Yeah, I would say it's I mean, you say you're not religious, but I would say it's definitely like a spirit, you know, it's a spirit that I think it uses this type of thing to silence people. Like, oh, you're being phobic, like whether it's Islamophobic, homophobic, whatever type of phobic, they
Like a
use that
shaming
term.
tactic.
Yeah, it's a tactic to silence people from speaking the truth because the devil, like, he promotes lies. He's the author of lies, and so anytime you see he sees someone preaching the truth, he's gonna use some sort of technique or tactic to, to keep them quiet. But
Yeah.
but there's something else I wanted to say. Was becoming Christian. Yeah, I was seeing stuff like that. I was seeing that even people are getting visions. People are saying they get dreams and visions of Jesus last conversions to Christianity, which is super interesting and it's like here. But yeah, now this is yeah, it's interesting, and I was surprised. I thought you might have been Christian, but I was like, based on how you're talking, I'm like he might not be a Christian. I was like I should ask, but it's
I'm more
still cool seeing
secular.
like
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm more secular. So
yeah,
you can say that my how I live my life, it's not necessarily dictated by any religion per se. But the reality is like, look, the reality is, yeah, that I do lean more towards the Bible, but I'm just not religious. So I'm neutral. So even when I have some of these discussions, I'm not coming and saying, oh yeah, well, this, that, Christianity, whatever. Because when I've dealt with some people, they don't really know how to deal with me. Because, for example, when someone brings up the child marriage, they'll be like, oh, but Rebecca was three. And I'm like, okay, well,
yeah,
if Rebecca was three, then both of them are still bad. Nobody would be going around marrying
yeah,
a 3-year-old today. And then like more information comes out that, hold on, how was Rebecca three if she's carrying wells to, carrying water from the well? That doesn't
hmm
make any sense. How does a 3-year-old carry so much water to feed what was it? I think was it I don't know if it was horses or camels or something like that, or donkeys or whatever. Like how does a 3-year-old do that? So what is
yeah,
it's just like these are arguments from some people who actually have no issue or problem with abusing little children. That's why they bring up these arguments. So me,
yeah,
I always come, it's like I'm almost coming from I'll say almost like coming from a neutral perspective. So they don't know which way to turn now,
yeah,
because
yeah.
some,
That's good.
yeah,
A
sorry.
good thing because yeah, because there's definitely certain like rebuttals that a Muslim will have for a Christian. So because of your what you believe or your stance is, it's like it's harder for them. Like they have there's nothing to
Yeah,
back
it's
up
more a
like their
neutral stance.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, now that's good to see like people from all different walks of life like who still acknowledge like the truth in some sort of way.
Yeah,
So
like, it is what it is. So, I was going to ask you also, you said you're from Nigeria, right?
I'm ethnically Nigerian. I've been there twice, but I was born in America. I live in America. I'm in Pennsylvania.
Okay, okay. And you are from Biafra?
Nah, 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 nah. Look, I don't know too much. Look, I know now there's Nigerians
Uh-oh.
watching. They're like,
Yeah, because you said you're
this dude
Igbo, so I was like,
Nigerian.
okay, you must know about Biafra.
Yeah, I do know about Biafra. Um,
Okay.
nah, there's some stuff has to be like. Let me not speak on that. Let me speak on that. Let me not speak on that.
Fair
Let
enough.
me not speak
Yeah,
on
yeah. It's best
that.
to do
But
more research
nah,
to
yeah,
know what it is that you're saying.
yeah,
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 yeah. But yeah, man. So like,
yeah. Let me not speak.
keep doing your work and like, you know, I think as long as you're not hurting anyone, as long as you're not it's not damaging anyone, then I don't see
Yeah,
much problem with it because I have a group where funny enough, I have some Muslims in my group actually, and we discuss some of these things. I have a Sikh in my group. I have, I think, one or two atheists and some other people. Most people have come to the agreement that like there's a lot of worrying things. Even some of the Muslims who didn't want to come to the agreement, but they said, nah, this is crazy, you know. But yeah, keep doing your thing and
yeah.
um, keep pushing your message there out to the people. And you say you're there to spread God's word and I wish you well in all your endeavors, you know. Uh,
Thank you, man.
and yeah, keep up the good work. If you got any more things or videos and stuff, you can share some videos with me and I'll check it out. But yeah, like as you said, a lot of the Islam topics, they're gonna get more views because right now there's a lot of scrutiny, man. It's
Yeah, exactly. Because def- definitely a lot more scrutiny. I was talking to my friend about it. I was on FaceTime with my friend. And he's like, "Yo, why are your Muslim videos doing so well?" And I was like, "I think there's like a general like negative sense, like this weird negative sentiment towards Islam right now, just because like there's a lot of stuff going on in Europe and just stuff where like people are interacting with Islam and like the fruits of it, and they're just realizing like, yo, there's something up with it." But but yeah, nah, thank you for letting me be on your thing. This is my first little interview thing. This is cool,
no worries.
man. Thank you for watching the video. I'm gonna watch some of your videos too because like I'm learning from it. So
Yeah, yeah.
um yeah.
Yeah, I've got a few things. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I just post up some of these things. I post up other things, but I'd say about 80 to 90% of my content is this kind of stuff. And the thing is as well is like when you mention about people are now interacting with Islam, there's like a lot of the Islamization of places all over Europe, and there's like what they call um sorry, there's like what they call two-tier policing. So
Mm,
you know, even you had like what some people are saying is the Muslim rape gangs. I'm not saying all
mm,
Muslims do that. It was mainly Muslims of like East Indian origin with like a handful of Somalis, a handful of Arabs, but about 80, 90% like East Indians, mainly from Pakistan. And
mm,
nobody wanted to talk about these things for fear of like being called racist, Islamophobe.
yeah,
But now you have some Pakistanis who started to speak out against it, and some other Muslims from other parts of the Middle East. So now they can't be labeled as like racist or
yeah,
Islamophobic because they come from this region
yeah.
and this is their religion. So it's like, this thing, like there was a lot of crazy things happening because these people were operating all over different parts of the UK, and they were
Mm,
predominantly attacking young white girls and raping them
mm.
and passing them around. So like yeah, that was crazy. Like that was literally crazy. But yeah, there's a guy called Tommy Robinson. You can look him up. The guy called Tommy Robinson. He,
Yeah, time. I was about to say, I was like, I heard him talking about it. 'Cause I haven't watched the one he did with Jordan Peterson. But there is another interview he had. Like, there's a bunch of interviews that he's been
yeah.
doing recently. So that I was like, I know what you're talking, but yeah, yeah.
And like he keeps getting arrested, stuff like that, because
Mm,
people are protecting a lot of those people who's raping the little white girls. And they don't just rape white girls, they also doing it to like some Sikh girls, stuff like that. But I think 80 to
mm,
90% of the rapes are in the young underage white girls. So It's like I'm not even here to coon or anything like that. But little girls are little girls. It doesn't matter whether it's black, white, Arab, East Indian, Chinese. Little girls just need to be left alone. Nobody has any business troubling a 12, 13, 14, 14-year-old girl. Yeah.
I'm lagging.
Yeah, I think it was just cutting out there. But yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah,
send you a bit of some clips and stuff.
yeah, it was lagging.
And yeah, I would just recommend that when you're gonna speak on some of these stuff, especially concerning Islam, bring it straight from the sources, whether it be Quran,
Yeah, yeah,
be Hadith. So then
yeah.
therefore people can actually see the proof.
No, exactly. Yeah, no, I got it. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Next time, if I probably will make another Muslim video, but for sure, I will definitely just straight raw Quran because I'm not gonna lie, I was being a little lazy. Like I know I could have just pulled it up straight from the source, but I just Googled it and just pulled it from Google. But yeah, no, you're right. That'll be better. So, but even the way I did it now, like when I looked at the comments from like Muslims, like I never saw a Muslim saying like, "Oh, he's making it up." They're just like, "Oh, this he's lost. Brother is lost." People like that's what they said, but like
No,
no one's
you're
saying I
not
made it up.
lost.
So,
You're not lost. Someone who
yeah,
cares about children is not lost. Someone who cares about human beings is not lost. Someone who doesn't want women
yeah,
to be raped is not lost. This is what we call real humanity.
yeah.
And, the last thing just before I go, because the time is running out, the whole Palestine thing,
Okay.
um, I suggest to a lot of black people to not support Palestine because there is still a Arab Muslim slave trade going on right now. And the Palestinians,
Mm,
where they're not Palestinians, they're actually Arabs. They migrated into there and took the land. Just like I believe that well, not believe, but the information shows that the so-called white man claiming he's a Jew, he took the land as well. But these people, they even segregate from the black Palestinians today. And they call the black
mm,
Palestinians Abid. So why are we,
Abid.
yes, Abid, it means slave.
Mm,
So why are we supporting their cause, but you don't hear any Muslims talking about the Islamic slave trade?
mm,
It doesn't make any logical
okay.
sense. So they want the black people to come and support them. When they finished with our support, they just chew you up and spit you out like you're a piece of garbage, right? And just to make this
Mm,
clear, I have no involvement or no interest in that state of Israel. Just to make this very clear, I have no interest in them.
yeah.
I have nothing to do with them. Both of these people have stolen the land as far as I'm concerned. Both of them, right?
Mm,
But maybe if we have some conversation about that, we can even discuss that also another time. But those people in Palestine, they're not Palestinian, they're Arabs, right? And they hate black people just as much as other groups do, if not more.
mm.
Yeah. But Eze, Eze, what's your name again? Eze?
Yeah, Ezra. Yeah,
Yeah. It's been
yeah,
really
yeah.
great
Yo,
and
go.
amazing talking to you. Um,
Yeah.
Catch up another Ben Israel.
your
Ben
name is
Israel.
Ben.
Yeah, Ben Israel. Okay.
Ben is
Take care,
okay.
brother.
Yeah. Now this was great. Thank you for reaching out, bro. I appreciate it.
Nice one.